Are you a mom who dares? Today, I want to talk to you. I want to mostly talk to parents, women, mothers especially, but I we want to talk about, are you a mom that is ready to do probably what's the next step after your kids get out of high school? So we're going to talk about all sorts of things in that arena. But today I have a guest, Jodi Silverman, and she is a passionate advocate and coach for women navigating the empty nest phase. And I'm in that phase, so I can totally relate to all of this. She empowers them to reclaim their identities and find joy in this new chapter of life. Through her innovative program and community support, The Moms Who Dare, she helps women rediscover their passions, build confidence, and create fulfilling lives beyond motherhood. And I know that when I retired, I thought, this is like I'm graduating from high school. I was so excited to start this business, and it's been so fun for me. So, Jodi, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Cynthia. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to speak to you and your audience today because it is a challenging transition for a mom, and yet there is so much opportunity and reward and fun waiting if we can move through that. So yeah.
Yes. Well, one of some of the people might be thinking, well, this podcast, I listen to it because I have a teen and I still have kids at home and maybe I even have littles. So, one thing that you said in a podcast that made me think you were perfect for my podcast is that this empty nest phase actually starts when kids are still in high school. So, talk about that. Like, why is that empty nest starting then?
Yeah, so empty nest, and I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I'm gonna have somebody create the graphic. I'm going to sketch it out. There are so many different steps along the way that define empty nest. And empty nest, yes, the word empty, but it's not. It's not.
Mhm.
That's not where it can begin as early as I say high school. When they enter high school, and for me, I started feeling the effects of my nest emptying more and more for longer periods of time when my kids were in high school, specifically when they each went and got their driver's license.
Oh, mm-hmm.
That's when I started really thinking, okay, so I don't have to drive them to and from basketball practice, or I don't have to take them to, Julie's house this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They can actually take the keys and go do it themselves. And there was a lot of fun with that, but there was also that moment before I realized, oh, well, now maybe I can have a glass of wine at 5 o'clock and not worry about driving.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a moment where it was like, but I'm the one who does that. And I
Mm-hmm.
like driving them because they forget you're in the front seat of the car and all those conversations that I would hear. And
Yes.
I liked having that little window into their social world. So it was a little bit sad, and yet it was a little bit freeing because now I remember thinking, okay, so if I don't have to be anywhere between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to do? How about
Yeah.
that? How about that? So,
Yes.
so emptiness, the sooner that a mom can figure out that she's allowed to fill some of this extra time with new and different things, maybe it's something old that you gave up, the easier the transition will be when eventually their sons or daughters actually physically leave the home and leave that
Mm-hmm.
space for long term.
And I think that for moms, that probably is really hard because we are more of the caregiver most of the time. And I mean, dads are really stepping up. My sons and stepsons in my life are like the best dads, and they will watch the baby or child all day long while their wives go do whatever they want to do, which is so beautiful. And that didn't used to happen. But I still think that there's a lot of mom guilt about self care and doing things that you want to do when you have these kids at home. But talk about how this can actually be good, like how we're role modeling for
Yeah.
what we want for our kids.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with what you said about dads. Employers are now giving dads paternity leave,
Hmm.
and I really saw a big shift with COVID because now more dads work from home and are able to go to the bus stop or do a last minute errand And
Mm-hmm.
with that said, it does still this feeling of empty nest and mom guilt. Dads don't have the level that moms
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to sound, I'm going to sound very cliche and I'm going to very generalized, but yet I stand by it because I still think it's true. No matter how equal things are, you will find moms do most of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the mom that tends to walk away from a hobby, walk away
Mm-hmm.
from a career to be a full-time mom, like which is a
Mm-hmm.
career in itself. And so it is important during this chapter, approaching this chapter, that you find something for you because your kids are still watching. And see, here's the thing, we're parents, whether you're a mom or dad, we're parents.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always teaching, whether we're teaching verbally or just through our actions. Your
Mm-hmm.
children notice when you sacrifice. Your children notice when you put everything and everybody else above and at the front of the line above what you want. And they notice the disappointment and maybe even frustration. And maybe it even causes you anxiety when your child wants to do something. You're like, no, but I wanted to sit and read my book today. And it's they're noticing it. They might not be aware of exactly what it is that they're seeing, but they
Mm-hmm.
notice it. So
Mm-hmm.
when you can give yourself permission, and I have a little permission slip I give moms, they can print it out. When you can give yourself permission to put something in your life that's just for you,
Mm-hmm.
ahead of your son or daughter, ahead of your partner, ahead of whatever job outside of the house that you have. Whether it is, I want to read more. I feel good when
Mm-hmm.
I read a book. It calms me. Reading is a way that I calm my anxiety. So if
Mm-hmm.
I don't take time during the day to read, I feel off. Meditate. I want to take yoga. I want to go to a yoga class. I want to
Mm-hmm.
go out for a walk. You are teaching your children that it's okay to do something you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what somebody else is asking of you. You're teaching your children to say, you know what? I can do that with you, but it's going to have to wait an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And we're teaching our children because if they only see us say, yes, yes, you're all dressed for yoga, you got the yoga mat around your shoulder, and you're walking out and they say, Mom, oh, I wanted to do this and I needed your help with this. And I wanted to get it done before, 5 o'clock. And you say, okay. And you just drop everything.
Mm.
They're going to be doing that in their life
Yeah.
and not putting themselves first. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
important that we model the behavior that we want our children to do because it can cause
Mm-hmm.
anxiety to constantly give up the things you want for other people. Being a martyr is not what being a mom is.
No.
And there
And
are, no,
I think it's gotten mixed up. I've seen that
yeah,
so often. And
yeah,
when you talk about anxiety, I know that there's so much that causes anxiety as a parent.
yeah.
But one of those things is when your child is struggling with something or has different challenges that are going on. And probably moms a lot of times want to fix it because that feels better. And that seems like it's easing our anxiety maybe when we're doing the fixing. But we kind of talked about this before, but what is the problem with us being the fixer of everything?
Well, yeah, and I will share that and it's a practice every day for me. I was the mom that was very uncomfortable with my children were showing an uncomfortable emotion. If they were
Mhm.
crying, if they were angry, I felt myself get
Mhm.
tense and want to stop it
Yeah.
by fixing it. And that's not really what they wanted or needed
Mhm.
from me. I didn't know that. It was my discomfort. And I've only recognized that because, so let me just back up because I'm going to get to the fixer and the coach thing. I'm 58 and I think I was like 45 years old when I started my personal growth journey. When
Mhm.
I realized, oh my gosh, I'm going to have all this extra time. What do I want to be when I grow up? Moment in my life. So I've had 10 plus years, almost 12 years of learning this. So I just want the audience to know I was awful. I was awful. I just wanted to jump in and fix it and have them stop feeling the way they felt. I didn't want them to fail. I didn't want them to fall. And the truth is, that's all wrong. It's all wrong. It
Mhm.
didn't make me a bad mom. I was a great mom. I love my kid. It doesn't make you a bad mom. And yet, what I did discover through my journey and through going through life coaching myself and reading the good books is that if we are going to calm our anxiety, around our kids having difficulties and facing challenges. And if we are going to instill confidence in them that they can fix this themselves, that they can come up with a viable solution and make a decision, that requires us to go from the fixer of all things to the coach or advisor.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like the word advisor better. I like
Mm-hmm.
coach.
Yeah.
So the goal is, and we do this, you can do this starting as early as like kindergarten when they don't
Mm-hmm.
know what to wear in the morning. And you can say, well, remember your tops are in drawer number one and your bottoms are in drawer number two. Just pick one from each. And now you're helping them.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're in high school and when they're getting ready to go off into the world and they come to you with a conflict with a best friend, or they don't know what to do when it comes to something in school, a course they're taking, or talking to a teacher. First of all, do not pick up the phone and call your children's teacher.
No, do not do
Look,
that.
put extenuating circumstances aside. There's always an extenuating circumstances. I'm talking to the 90% of the problem out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do not go into coach mode with your child. When they come to you with a problem, the first thing I always say to do is ask their permission. Which means basically clarify with them. Are they looking for you to help them, to give them a solution? Do they want you to fix it? Do they want you to weigh in and give them an opinion? Or are they just coming to you just to sound off because mom is a safe space and they
Mm-hmm.
can let loose on mom that they can't let loose on their kids? If you start asking that question, I promise you, Cynthia, and anybody else watching here, the dynamic of your relationship with your child will change.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about this yourself. Anybody listening, did you ever have your mom, or even currently as an adult, a friend who every time you went to her with a problem, they jumped right in and told you what you should do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And how did you feel? I know I stopped going to that person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I was frustrated. I'm like, I didn't ask you what I should do. I'm just venting. So
Yeah.
ask the permission question either at the start of the conversation or you can do it at the end. So
Mm-hmm.
your child comes home and they're like, I had a fight with Cynthia today and this is what happened, blah, 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 and I don't know what to do. And you're like, okay, what are you asking me something? Like, do you want, well, yeah, mom, I want you to tell me what to do. That kind, you still don't tell them what to do. Say, okay, so, then you start going into the coach mode. Like, what do you think precipitated the blow up?
Mm-hmm.
If you were Cynthia,
Mm-hmm.
how would you want Cynthia to come to you to resolve this? Coach them through possible solutions. You are now empowering them to
Mm-hmm.
find a solution, make a decision, and that further equips them to when the day comes at high school graduation, which will be soon. For a
Mm-hmm.
lot of moms out there, a whole nother class of moms getting ready to say goodbye to the kids, that will equip them to feel more confident when they do leave home to make a decision. Because they can
Mm-hmm.
fall back to that. Oh, I remember when I had this problem, I called my mom, she really guided me through it. Either
Mm-hmm.
they'll remember and guide themselves, or they'll feel safe to call you because they know you're not going to just dive in and tell them what they should do. Nobody wants to hear as soon as you say, you know what you should do, I shut off. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're
Mm-hmm.
shitting me. So going from fixer to coach can really calm everybody's anxiety because you're leaving the door open for your children to come for. You're holding space,
Mm-hmm.
holding a safe space for your children to come to. And yet you're telling them you have the confidence in them to figure this out and you're going to guide them there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the main things that most teens complain to me about is that my parents micromanage me or they're always telling me, how to do everything or what I'm supposed to do. And, I want to make some decisions on my own. And, of course, as parents and when we have minors, we do have to, pay attention to what all these different things are. But yes, you can start this in preschool of, what kind of clothes are you going to wear? Or, here's these ideas, or this is something that you could try, not like saying this is how you do it. And I
Right.
think maybe for moms to feel better about all this, because it does feel overwhelming when you are allowing them to make some decisions on their own, because then it's like, oh no, what if they make the wrong decisions? Or what if they fail? Or what if, but just think about this as you're helping them be a better adult. Because if they can make these decisions on their own or figure things out, they're just going to be better at being an adult. I know both of my kids. I was fairly good at this, but I think it's because maybe my counseling background
Yes.
as I was raising them. But I remember, they wouldn't. One time, Haley overextended herself by like saying yes to too many things. And then she was completely overwhelmed and crying about it. She was like, I can't do all these things. And she wanted me to call the teacher to get her out of doing something that she had said yes to that she didn't want to do. And I said, you have to make that call
Yeah.
and tell them that you don't want to do this. And she was like, I can't tell them that. And I'm like, this is a difficult conversation that you have to know how to do because when you're an adult, you're going to have difficult conversations. And so
Yeah.
she did, and it turned out fine. And he was so good to her. And he was like, oh, I totally understand. You don't have to do this. And she was like, oh, that turned out so well. And I said, you just have to hope that when you're doing something from your best place, that it's going to turn out the way that you want it to. And she needed to have, and we had to practice that multiple different times, but it
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah, you know what? And that's what it's about. It's practicing. We can make up such stories, right? They tell us,
Yeah.
oh my God, my teacher's going to think I'm a horrible person, and then I
Yep.
never follow through. And yet,
Mm-hmm.
if we can get off of that, if we can
Yeah.
stop that thought and say, well, what other outcome could there possibly be?
Mm-hmm.
What else could your teacher think? If you come, like you said, I love that. Come from a place of honesty. Sometimes Cynthia, it really is as simple as, and I do this with my kids. I messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I messed up and I overbooked myself and I feel really badly about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what to do. It's not going to work out. I don't want to disappoint you. And yet I messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And what can somebody do with that?
Yeah.
They can't get angry. You're coming clean.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the conversations to talk your, kids through. I can share with you when my daughter, I have two kids. My daughter Ellie's 30, my son is 20, Dan is 26. When Ellie went off to college, it was only a couple months after her pop-up had passed away, and they were
Mm-hmm.
very close. And the one thing people don't tell you when you go off to college is that you will have that feeling of disconnectedness because your best friends aren't there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a little off balance feeling, and it's a little lonely feeling trying to, forge new friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember her calling me up and she sounded homesick. And she was saying it's because, pop up. I miss pop up. And I knew it wasn't that. I knew it was her
Mm-hmm.
feeling. And I remember saying, you know what, who on campus might be able to help you with this? And she really liked her roommate, and she said her roommate was really helping her. And her roommate suggested that maybe she would talk to the counselors. And I said, well, what do you think about that? I said, I'm not there, so go.
Mm-hmm.
And so she did. So it's like, well, who can help you? Who do you think is best to help you with this?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the fixer. I have a resource. I'll give it to you. You can share with your audience on how to go from fixer to coach, but it
Mm-hmm.
does help. And I'm not saying, look, it's not easy. Being a mom is not easy. And it's
Right.
not easy letting go. And yet that's what our job is. Our job is to raise confident decision-making young adults to go out in the world. Be good,
Mm-hmm.
kind,
Mm-hmm.
confident
Mm-hmm.
decision-making young adults. And the only way they can do that is if we do let them falter a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
if they're going to fail without it being a life-altering thing, let them fail. They need to learn, right? I've learned
Yeah.
so much by, a failed launch in my coaching business, which I've
Yeah.
so many of those. I mean, I learned the hard way in college when I failed my very first class ever in my life. I was horrified.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned, and I still
Yeah.
graduated on time. So it's uncomfortable to let them fail, but we have to let them feel uncomfortable. If
Mm-hmm.
they're not, because who was it that said this to me? Was it a therapist who said it? Somebody, no, I read it in a book. If we don't allow our children to fail now and feel uncomfortable now, the world will teach them in a much harder, unkind way.
Yes. Oh, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's why I would as a school counselor, tell parents to allow that in high school because you're still there. They still live in your house. Because if they don't do any failing or have any challenges and then they're off away from you, that makes it so much worse because
Yes.
maybe won't come back to ask you about it because they're embarrassed or ashamed about something.
Yeah.
And it just makes the problem so much worse. If they've already experienced how to do that when they still live with you, it's just so much easier for them to experience those things that are going to happen. We don't get through our lives without failing or having challenges. Like that's just part of this journey that we're on. And so we need to allow them to have the tools in order to do that. I know with my son, he lived with this well, he had this roommate that didn't work. I don't even his parents like paid for him to stay in this apartment and he just sat around and played video games all the time. My son was going to work every day. When his roommate did work, his parents called him every morning to wake him up to go to work. I mean, it was like so ridiculous. And I think they even came and did his laundry and folded it and put it in his
Yeah.
drawers at this
Sorry. No.
apartment. Yeah, I know. I always
Ladies,
said
that's
I
a
was
hard no.
yeah,
It's a
I always thought I was just too lazy for that, but I remember one time my son said, "Well, mom, sometimes I feel bad because his parents just come and do all this stuff like they just love him so much and you don't come and do these things." And I
oh, no.
said, that may look, you have complained he doesn't pick up anything for himself. He doesn't work. He wanted a girlfriend, but a girlfriend doesn't just show up in your apartment. Like you have to go out and like find somebody or talk to someone or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, see how it's like he's disabled. Like he is not
Yes.
able to do the things and you are. And I'm sure now he's like, oh, thank goodness I didn't, have a mom who did everything. But it really does it just takes away your ability to do things.
Yeah, no, and it's not good because that child will have a struggle with a job, and the
Mhm.
boss is not going to come save them. The boss is going to say, "This one strike, one
Yeah.
more, you're out." That's what I
Yeah.
meant. That's what I meant by like life will teach it to you worse, and I
Mhm.
love that. So yeah, you got to
Yeah.
let them. You remind me of a story. My son moved home for a little bit after college, and I said we need ground rules because he's an adult now and he was out
Mhm.
working, and I said what if I'm working because I work this is my office here and upstairs. I said, and I know you have to be working 11, but I don't hear you moving around up there. Like if you oversleep, like what is it that you would want me to do? And he said, well, I would think that if I knew you were going to miss an appointment, I would wake you up, mom.
Mm.
And I said, okay. I said, I have a problem. And he says, what? I go, I don't want to wake up my 24-year-old son. And he looked at me, I go, I don't want to be your alarm clock.
Yeah.
I don't want you to oversleep. And I don't want to do it. And he said, then don't,
Mm.
then don't. I said, okay. And I shut my door and I just put on calm meditation radio music and dive into work. And there were a couple times I heard him running, but
Yeah.
he's like, because what was I? That wasn't going to help him. He was now.
Mm-mm.
If I said, okay, I'll wake you up if you miss it, well, then he's going to sleep through his alarm on purpose. Yeah. But he's out of the house. He's waking up he's going to work. But
Oh, that's good.
you said the word enable. It's not
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
It's not love.
No.
That's not what love is.
Mm-mm.
Hold space. Let them know, right? Let them know you can always come to me,
Mhm.
period.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell them you can come to me. I'm not going to fix it for you. Don't say that. You can always
Mhm.
come to me. And I'll share something else. When I said earlier how uncomfortable and I would get really anxious when my kids were uncomfortable or venting about something, as soon as I clarified, if asked them that permission, I would say to like Ellie, are you just venting or are you asking me to weigh in on this? She goes, I'm just venting. I just need to let it out. Oh, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I could kick back. I could just
Mhm.
sit and listen.
Mhm.
I was so much calmer
Mhm.
about it. I didn't have any ownership in what she was venting over. None. I was
Mhm.
completely detached from the outcome of whatever she was venting about. I just let her do it. And it was really liberating. So yeah,
Yeah, it definitely is.
yeah.
Well, tell the listeners about your program, The Moms Who Dare. How does that work and how do people get in touch with you?
So Moms Who Dare is a Facebook group and a membership. So we have a Facebook group, the Moms Who Dare, and the membership is a Moms Who Double Dare. So any mom
Mm.
is welcome to come and find the Facebook group, request to join, just answer the pre-join questions because it keeps out unwanted bots and spam.
Yes.
But the Moms Who Double Dare membership it's a unique membership. It's grounded in connection, personal growth, and fun experiences, hence the daring. Daring, Cynthia, it was just my fun word on stepping out of your comfort zone to try new things.
Sure.
And we combined all three of that connection, meeting new moms, women friends, because in empty nest, it's the only time in a mom's life where her children aren't the conduits to her meeting new mom friends.
Yeah.
Personal growth, because we're never finished. We're never finished
Hmm.
growing and learning. And we do a lot around mindset work, finding our purpose and fulfillment, getting more back in touch with our core values. And it's not a portal. Everything we do, we have like 2 Zooms a month, and the experiences. We have virtual, it's a hybrid virtual and in person. I share other experiences that you might like. A good friend of mine is hosting a yoga scuba retreat out of the country.
Ah,
I'm like, put it out there to the group and let people see. Maybe it's a dare for somebody. So,
yeah.
we have the Facebook of the Double Dares, and yeah, and I love that. I mean, it's really fulfilling. The Double Dares are more intimate group of women, and I mean, I will tell you all of that stuff I just said we do. If you ask any of the Double Dares what they love most about it, they say the camaraderie.
Yeah.
We hop on a Zoom. We have a once a month hangout. One of them is a hangout, and it's an hour in and out, just like it's like mom's night out, but because we're all over the country.
Hmm.
And it's now up to almost 30 minutes of them all catching up on, oh, you had your grandchild and your daughter just got married. And it's really nice to see. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
it's community. We need community, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I think you do some speaking things too. If someone had a women's event, you
I
could
do.
come and
I do.
speak.
I bring me into your group. I love public speaking. I have a speaker page. Everything's at my website, jodisilverman.com. I do public speaking, run my community, and I host my own podcast as well.
All right. Yeah,
Okay.
I think is yours called Beyond the Nest?
Beyond Empty Nest.
Beyond the Empty Nest.
Beyond Empty.
Okay. Yes, I
Yeah,
love that.
I do. My jam really is mindset and happiness. I have a unique ability to flip a perspective, see the positive, not toxic positivity. We
Mhm.
still cry, we can get angry, we can still feel all our emotions.
Right.
Have a unique way of seeing the gifts in the mess.
Hmm.
And I speak on a variety of topics. And I'm just, women empowering women. This right here, what you're doing to support moms. And I wish we had had this when I was raising my children, don't you?
Oh my, yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I didn't do my figuring out my life until in my mid 40s too. So, and I wish I would have been thinking about it way before then, but it's turned out okay. So,
Yeah. Let's, and well, that's the dare. The dare is to, you know, start figuring out what are things that you used to do that you stopped doing because you just had to for whatever
hmm.
reason. You
Hmm.
don't beat yourself up over it. I mean, and it could be as simple as like I used to like riding my bike. I'm gonna
Hmm.
ride a bike again.
Yeah.
Just start with a list and start making a list and just try something. Just try something new just for you without worrying that it's going to interfere with your children's schedule. I mean,
Hmm.
especially if we're talking about teens.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
on the weekends, if you want to do something on Saturday morning, they're going to sleep late. They're going to sleep
That's so
late.
true.
So use your morning for you and be available in the afternoon if you want.
Mm.
Yeah.
Jody, thank you for being with us because moms need this information just as much as they need how do I deal with my teens' anxiety. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, me too.